Hey guys, welcome back. We are here with another episode on Off the Record podcast. We are having a special podcast today. I have two very special ladies with me today. Today's podcast is talking about motherhood, the journeys, the joy, the lessons. Shout out to all the mommies out there. So please introduce yourselves. Oh, by the way, I'm Susan Villarreal. I'm the supervisor in the youth department. And here we have
Karina with AVPH. I am an executive coordinator.
And I'm Vicky Bibby, Director of Direct Services here at AVPH.
Awesome. So we wanted to bring to you guys a very special Mother's Day podcast episode. We have Vicky here, who's probably the most seasoned mommy here in between us. Karina's our new expecting mommy, so we're super excited to hear all sides of what it is to be a mom. So, Vicky, how many years do you have?
32. 32 years.
That's crazy. Karina, how far along are we?
6 months.
Aw. I have 10 years. How many kiddos do you have, Vicky?
I have 3, total of 3.
What are their age ranges?
34, 24, and she'll be 19 in a couple weeks.
Okay. And do we know the gender? Do we want to tell the gender?
Yeah, of course. So I'm having a baby girl.
Oh, okay. So I have
What about you?
I was like, I have 2 kids. I have an 8-year-old daughter and a going to be 10-year-old son. So yeah, let's get into it. Hopefully we don't cry. I don't want to cry, but I do get emotional. Do you guys get emotional thinking
yes.
about
Trust
us?
me, I do. I'm such an empath. I think I cry for everything.
Yeah.
And then these extra hormones, I'm like, extra emotional.
When you said hormones, right off the top, I thought weird cravings. What were your guys' weird cravings now, currently, or when you were expecting? If you had any.
I don't think I have any weird cravings, and that's so funny because I have a niece who always asks me, like every time she sees me, she's like, "Ooh, is there something weird that you like?"
Oh.
So I would say nothing weird. I think my pregnancy has been like my cravings so far. It's like if you're on your period and it's like, "Ooh, I'm down for a burger,"
Okay.
or like I think I have ice cream daily. So not necessarily weird, but I feel like that's been consistent. So In-N-Out has been on the top of my list, and ice cream.
Do you feel like you're gravitating more to like sweets?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a huge sweets person, and yeah, that is my guilty pleasure right now.
Nice.
With my son, I enjoyed a lot more salty and savory. Chorizo, menudo, pozole. With my daughter, it was sweets, and I'm not usually a dessert person, but I enjoyed a lot of sweets. But honestly, during my pregnancies, I really wasn't hungry. I was not hungry. I would eat because I needed to. There was no major cravings. I wasn't one to be like, oh, at 3 a.m, like people say.
Yeah.
I was more like, whatever you guys want, I'll just find something. I think I've always been that way.
Yeah, you know what? I was curious about that too, because people share their pregnancy experiences with me, and I have a friend who was like, "Oh my gosh, I remember there was one time I woke up at 4 a.m. and I needed a can of fruit, like the canned fruit," and I was like, "That's so interesting. Like, I wonder if I'm gonna experience something like that." But no.
I think when you guys, so with my daughter, I like sweets in general. I'm a big sweets person. However, with my daughter, it was like amplified. I wanted nothing but donuts, chocolate, candy, and she's also a very much sweet person. And with my son, it was nothing but salty foods, like lemon. Oh my God, lemon was so good. I would just cut the lemons and I don't know, it was so good. I would put it in my ice and eat ice. I know it's not good to eat ice when you're pregnant, but it was summertime, so it was like really good and refreshing. But it's kind of funny, those like little myths that we hear about, kind of putting that together, like, oh, the girls are more sweet or the guys are more like salty and savory. So
And I think it follows the kids too, because I don't think my son enjoys as much sweets as my daughter. But on the other end, a lot of things didn't make me sick.
Oh, okay.
But the one thing that I couldn't have with my son was gum. And I used to be a gum person. I always had 2 packs of gum in my purse. And when I got pregnant with him, I couldn't figure out, there was just one thing that made me sick, and it was gum. And to this day, I still can't have gum. I can have gum for just a few seconds, and then I get nauseated with the texture, and he's the same way. He's not a gum person.
That is so interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Pregnancy is so interesting.
Yeah. I
How
think
that
it also,
transfers.
that how it goes on to your kiddos too, because with Noah, my son, I kid you not, I had pizza almost every single day. It was so good. And if you ask him what his favorite food is, it's pizza. Yeah, he'll ask for pizza all the time. So we did put together some questions. I hope, like I said, we don't cry. But it's just like a gateway for us to continue our conversation. So I'll kind of just throw some questions here and there. But one of the questions is, what kind of support systems have helped you along the way? And what did you learn about asking for help?
I've always had a really good support system. My husband was very hands-on. I come from a very traditional family where my dad didn't really help my mom out a lot. I was actually the one who helped my mom when she had my younger siblings. But with my husband, he was very hands-on. And then my parents also helped a lot, and I had a lot of support.
Awesome.
I was very fortunate.
That's awesome.
I think for me, I think the same. I have a really good support system. I have 4 older sisters who are all mommies. And so I definitely rely on them for some questions or things that I'm like, this is new, or is this weird, or this is what I'm feeling, or like my mom and my mother-in-law are really supportive. But I think that one thing that I found a lot of support in, and as weird as it sounds, is TikTok. And the reason why I say this is because, to be honest, at the beginning when I found out I was pregnant, of course, I was super excited. But I was really nervous, and I was really scared, and I was sad. And I don't know, I felt every emotion, and I don't know if it was because it was something new, but, you know, I was nervous. This was my first time. I was sad because I felt like I was kind of grieving my single self, you know? So I was scared to voice those opinions because I was like, is that weird? I'm a bad mom. Like, I'm already thinking about this. Like, and I didn't want people to know that. I was like, maybe like I'm the only one who's thinking of those things. Yeah. So I was really scared. And I think I went to TikTok and I saw and heard people say the same thing, and I felt so heard. I felt like, okay, maybe I'm not weird for thinking that I'm scared or that I'm nervous or that I'm sad because it's not just my husband and I anymore. Because of course now I'm believe me, I'm so excited. But before, I feel like those feelings were overwhelming my excitement. And so hearing it from TikTok, I think I found support. And that's like, I wouldn't respond to people. I would just hear it and I would take it in, and I'm like, okay, like that makes sense. Like people are feeling this. So I think TikTok was great. And, you know, I'm so thankful that everybody gives me, you know, their thoughts, but I think it was nice that I could just hear it and take it and pull what I needed to. I mean, you know, TikTok is so easy. You just swipe.
Yeah.
So if something is like, makes sense to me, I'm like sitting there listening and saving it. If something didn't make sense, I could be like, you know what, that's not for me. Or I don't agree, or whatever the case is. So I think that, yeah.
Don't you wish you could swipe people? Because sometimes you get a lot of advice that you're not looking for, and they mean well, but sometimes you hear just all the negatives and all the bad stories, but not the good stories. And the
yes,
good parts of
absolutely,
it.
Vicky. And I think that that's what it felt like at the beginning, like, oh my gosh, just wait. And it's like, me and my husband, like we've been together since high school. And so it's always just been us, and we've get up and go and do whatever we want. And people are like, well, just wait, because you won't be able to do all of this. And I'm like, thank you. Yeah, inside I'm like, swipe. But it's like, I understand. I know that people come with good intention because they want to share that rawness and tell you. But I think that as a first-time mom, and I'm pregnant, and I have so many hormones and emotions, and I don't know how to navigate them. And hearing the just wait, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's scary. I'm scared. I'm really scared. So yeah, thank you, TikTok.
I appreciate you telling us that, because I think something that we forget as women, or even moms, older moms, younger moms, new moms, adopted moms, all moms, right? Is that the kind of the stigma that we face sometimes of sharing these like really real emotions that we feel, like postpartum depression, the grief of what it was to have your single body, right? And then now you're carrying and your body changes. All those things like have a huge impact in us, and sometimes we don't have someone that we can talk to about it, and it's hard to navigate. When I was a teen mom, a little bit older teen, but I was still a teen. For my case, I didn't really have a huge support when I found out I was pregnant, because one, I was a teenager and it wasn't ideal. Unfortunately for myself, I was kicked out of my home, so I did go into my husband's home, and it was like a brand new experience, having to understand his family's way of being, and his mom's like consejos, her what is it?
Advice.
Yes, thank you. Her advice, and how she did it, and what she was expecting. I was like, this is too hard. This is too hard. It was very hard. But I did find, my friends, or social media as part of like keeping myself afloat. Because sometimes it is hard when you don't have someone to really like help you navigate those feelings, or even just help you share the ride, because you just don't know what to expect.
How different. So as I'm sitting here listening, like you have a husband, you guys are married, you were a teen, and then my first time as a parent, I actually already, when I got into a relationship with my husband, he had a 2-year-old. So I became an instant mom without going through the 9 months, or it's technically 10 months really, of pregnancy to prepare myself. So it was totally, all three of us have different beginning stories.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. So I think when I meet moms, or I have mom friends, I appreciate their journey, because everyone has, it could be the same experience or the same steps that you guys took, but everything is different. So they have a different perspective as to how they went about it, or certain words that they say really just uplift you, and you're like, okay, like how you were saying, I'm not the only one that's going through all these things. And that's why I think it's so cool to have like mom friends, because you guys understand what we're kind of like feeling. I had a lot of friends, still being a teen, I had a lot of friends that obviously were not expecting babies. And I could tell you it was the hardest thing ever, because they'd be like, oh, let's go out, let's do this, let's go. And I'm like, I can't. And then those friends disappeared within a snap. And when I found my first like mom friend, it was like, okay, I found my person. Like, okay, this is fun. It's okay. It's gonna be okay. So I'm glad you guys had your support, or still have support, because it takes a village and it never stops.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm Vicky. I think the saying where they say it doesn't matter if you're like 80 years old, you'll always be, a baby to your parents' eyes and stuff. So,
I have adult kids, and you hear this, oh, once they turn 18, it's going to be over. It's quite the opposite. I feel like when they're little, you have the ability to keep them safe, and they're right with you, and you take them places, and you pick them up, and you drop them off. When they get older and they start exploring and become independent, it's hard as a mom sometimes, because they're out doing their own thing, and you just have to pray that they're going to be safe and trust that you've given the right decisions, and trust in they're in safe places. So I think it becomes a different kind of nervousness and stress. But I mean, I worry just as much for my adult kids that I do when they were little.
Yeah.
And their love doesn't change either. You still see them as your little babies.
Yeah. I feel like it intensifies because of all the memories that kind of just, you look back. I was telling my team the other day, my sister just had her 15. and they were doing like a slideshow of her baby pictures to, you know, her 15. And there's like a little boy in the background coloring. And I was like, wow, I was like, that kid looks familiar. And then as I'm looking closer, I was like, whoa. I was like, that's my son. Like, oh my God, like he was so tiny and so cute. And now I look at him like, oh my gosh, the time flies. Like it literally flies. It's crazy.
That was something I wasn't prepared for.
Yeah.
I was not prepared for that. I think that, and I've shared this with Karina. Karina and I have had a lot of stories. You grieve your babies. I hate to say it. You know, I know for me, I've always wanted to be a mom since I was little. If I thought about what I wanted to be when I was older, I wanted to be a teacher, but then I also wanted to be able to be home and cook dinner and have homework, and I wanted to be a mom. And when it finally happened, I became a mom. It just goes by so fast. And I look at my kids, and obviously they're here, and I love them, but I grieve and I miss my babies. I miss when they were 4 and 5 and they were all in the house and they needed me and I was there to, you know, to provide for them and do all those things, but it just goes by so fast. Yeah. And so any new moms, I always say, just enjoy, be present in that moment because it goes by so fast.
Yeah.
That even on the most stressful days.
Yeah, that is 100% true. Because when my daughter was baby, she would just lay there and I'd be like, I want her to move because my son was older and he was up and down. I'm like, so boring. But then I remember feeling also like my son wasn't that little no more. I couldn't just hold him and just have him there sleeping. So it was really a reset of like, no, I gotta enjoy this. I gotta really just sit with her and look at her and
take it all in.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah. That's actually something that Vicky told me, I think yesterday. She was like, make sure you appreciate all the tiny little things. Like I know you want her to laugh or giggle or you want her to walk and do all this, but they're in a newborn stage at such a little time.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to be completely 100% dependent on you in like just a little time. So yeah, I'm just like keeping that in the back of my head to soak every little piece in, even though I'm probably going to have a lack of sleep. I haven't showered in a few days. But yeah, for sure. I think that's something that people have said that I'm like, okay, I need to be mindful to enjoy every single day.
Yeah. Just lay there.
Yeah. Just lay there. You just do your thing down there.
I kid you not. If you stare at her long enough, you'll be able to look at and like appreciate all the little features, all her little lines and things like the babies are so cute.
I'm real big on infant massage, so when they're just laying there, you could do infant massage with her.
Oh yeah,
the little feet. I tell everyone that doesn't have kids, I'm like, please have one so I could just hold a little baby. So Karina, if you allow me, I'd like to.
Of course, anytime. Come on by.
That's what grandbabies are for too.
No, we're not there yet.
For me.
We're not there yet. Vicky, please no. Do you have grandbabies?
I have 3 with my oldest daughter.
And how's that?
It's different. It is nice because you just get all the fun part.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of time. I also forgot how much work it is. Like when they come over and spend the night or hang out, I'm like, wow, I'm tired. But it is nice. I know he's barely going to be 9 months, and he was up walking the other day, and I was joking. I'm like, just push him down. He's too young to be walking. But then we just laughed.
Yeah,
going too fast.
The time flies. But it's funny. Do you feel like the transition from mom to grandma is kind of like a how can I put it into words? Like a big like shift maybe, where it's like you're trying to let the parents do their thing, right?
It wasn't for me because she, when she first had my first granddaughter, she only lived 12 homes away. And so it was amazing. I would literally come home from work, pick her up, and she would hang out with me all the time. Now she lives about 30 minutes away. But my daughter is so independent, and she's such a good mom that I try to jump in when I can, but she pretty much has it down. Like, she does a really good job. So I get to just play. Yeah. And I really try my hardest, even when they were close by, not to be that mom that was like, do it this way. I would give a suggestion if I was asked. But, I mean, there were a lot of times where I wanted to step in. But I try my hardest not to be be that person and let her figure it out.
Yeah.
Like my mom did with me. She was good about that as well too.
That's awesome. I appreciate that because I know sometimes it's hard for like personal experience. Like my mother-in-law, she was very much like, let me just do it. And I was like, my baby, like, let me do it. Let me figure it out. Yeah, let me try. So I know she meant well. However, there was times where I was just like, okay, you know, but I appreciate her and I love her and respect her and everything. But yeah, I'm glad.
I tried.
Awesome.
You're doing great.
Yes, you're doing great. Let me see. If you could go back and speak to yourself as a new mom, I know you're currently a new mom, but like for future, maybe kind of think about it a little bit different. What's one thing you'd say?
I think for me, that I'm going to mess up and it's okay. And children are resilient. As long as you love them, everything could be repaired. And I think we try to be perfect. I think if I think about moms who go through postpartum, I went through postpartum with my second daughter, but I think we try our hardest to, and maybe it's just me, I don't know, but most moms try to have it all together and they want to look perfect and have the perfect house and have the perfect children. But reality is we're not, and it's okay. And our children will forgive us. And so don't be so hard on yourself if you don't have it all together all the time. And you're allowed to go into the garage and scream or leave your baby safe and take a walk. It's okay that you get frustrated and you get stressed because it's not going to always be perfect. And I think we have a home visitation program here at ABPH, and I think that's one of the things that we push is that take that time and you're going to be stressed. But what do you do when you get stressed?
Yeah.
There are things you can do because you're going to get those stress. You're going to look at your child one day and be like, will you just stop crying? Will you just stop?
Yeah.
And it's okay that you get frustrated, but have someone there to give you that break when you need it.
Yeah.
And you're not a horrible mom because you get stressed.
Yeah. Yes. I can agree with that. You want more?
That's really good. That's a good thing. I'm taking mental notes, by the way. I have a long list in my head of notes that I'm like taking to just for the future. But I think for myself, being that I'm 6 months pregnant, so I think the advice I would give myself is like my beginning pregnancy. I think I would tell myself that, I know I briefly mentioned like I was full of emotions and nervousness and sadness and scaredness. And I think that what I would tell myself is, or I would remind myself that like it's going to be okay. It's a change, but it's a change for the good. You know, I'm a person who's, I like control. I like planning. I'm like, that's kind of how I am. And so I didn't have that control, and that was really, really difficult for me. And I feel like I was just like, the first few months. So I think I would tell myself, like, be patient with yourself because it will, like, you will feel better. Now I can go to the gym or walk and I feel like myself again. But I think it was really hard at the beginning that I didn't have control. I couldn't eat the foods that I usually would like be consistent with eating. And, you know, I try to have a well-balanced meal. Like that was, I'd eat whenever I could, whenever I wanted, and whatever went down. So I think I would just tell myself and remind myself that it's temporary. It's, I don't know, if I could, I'd give myself a hug because I needed that. And I don't know.
I'm like, no, please. We have tissues here.
I don't know. I'm like, I'm just an emotional being, and then
we're all emotional beings.
I'm good. Leave it there close.
I'm like,
no, I think you bring up a lot. I think I heard you earlier say something about how they say your life's going to change. You're not going to be able to do anything. I think that depends on you.
Yeah.
I think there is individuals who say, now I have to change everything because I have a child. And then there's the other ones who say, no, I'm bringing this child into my routine.
Yeah.
And so I was one of those that took my children everywhere. And I knew people who were like, oh, I can't go there because I have kids. And I'm like, take them. And they're like, oh, I don't take them those places. And I'm like, why? How are they ever going to learn and be a part of it. So if you include her in everything, it's not going to be that much of a change.
Yeah.
And she will learn to love the things you do because you're showing it to her.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, going back to the TikTok thing, I actually just sent my husband a TikTok that I saw. Because, again, like we've talked about how they say everything's going to change. And someone posted, like, me and my husband love going to the beach. Like, that's our favorite place. And this person posted a video of their baby girl at the beach. And she's, like, a few months. And she's just sitting there having a good time. And then she put like the caption, like, we had a baby, but now we get to bring her. Now it's like in addition to it.
Yes.
So
Instead of you not going to the beach anymore because she's so little, you took her.
Yeah. And I think that little piece was missing when people were telling me, like, like, I guess that's another advice I tell myself. Like, you can bring her, you can strap her on and go on a hike and do whatever. It's like, doesn't mean that like we can't get up and go. No, we just need to have an extra bag and an extra little person, but
get up a little extra early and prepare.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that, I can see it. I can picture it now. Like, I'm so excited. Like, I'm like, ooh, can you wait? Like, when we go to the beach and we get to bring her.
Oh, I love that. I think with that, my piece of advice is to tell myself, and hopefully out there too, it's okay if people don't agree with what you're doing, because with that, like I said, there wasn't a lot of support from me. So when I wanted to bring my kids with me and do things that I know maybe my parents or grandparents didn't do, it was like, oh, you're a bad mom. But it was not. So when I got out of the hospital, I was feeling down. I had postpartum depression with my son, and I needed to get out. He was like maybe a week old, and my friend was like, let's go to the movies. And she was like, just, see if your husband can take care of the kids or your son. And I was like, no, he's at work. And I was like, but I'll go to the movies. And I put him in my sling. And I just made sure his ears were covered, and I was breastfeeding at that time, so it was very easy. But it was funny because we were walking to the theater room, and someone stopped me and goes, "Is that a doll?" And I was like, "No, it's my baby." And she was like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "Gonna watch a movie." And she was like, "You look like you just got out of the hospital." I was like, "I did actually." I was like, "I did." And I was like, "And I want to watch a movie, and my son is sleeping." And she was just like, like she kind of gave me some words, and I was just like, "It's okay, it's okay." But like the whole time he slept, he didn't budge, he didn't move, he was right there, and I like had my hand over his ears so I made sure it wasn't too loud. But I had a good time, and I needed that.
And they love the loud sounds.
Yeah. I think he
probably slept probably the best because there was so much loud sounds. No, you do get a lot of people who I've had a couple instances where I was at a restaurant and I got the look like, why are you bringing them with you? And I'm like, what? This is a family place, right? I'm not in a 21 and older restaurant. And I had a couple words where they needed to keep their opinions to themselves.
Yeah.
It's a family restaurant. You can bring your kids, and I wanted my kids to know what it's like to be in a restaurant. So but you will get the looks sometimes.
You just have to remember, like, as long as you know that your baby is healthy, safe, they're enjoying yourselves, you're enjoying yourselves, they're enjoying themselves. That's all that matters.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned that because I feel like I get a little bit of that in the choices I make during my pregnancy, like what I choose to eat or not to eat. And it's like, oh, in my pregnancy, I always ate that and I was fine, or my baby turned out fine. So I think that, it's okay to make your own decisions, and it's fine. I think everyone has their own plan, and I think that we should be kinder to our moms and to our fellow moms. We should support each other or learn about it. Yeah, like, instead maybe that woman could have been like, oh, like, how do you play? I don't know. I feel like it could have came off a little bit differently if she was so concerned,
right?
Or like, I don't know, because I think that I would want to learn, like, wait, why are you, like, how did you do that? Like, so that I can do that, or like, how do you plan to manage? Like, you know what I mean? I feel like we should support each other and feel like it's a support. And how can we learn from one another? And then think of it like as a swipe. If you feel like that works for you, great. And if it doesn't, it's okay.
Yes, those little reminders. I feel like I wish I could go back, but you guys are phenomenal. I'll tell you that right now. Maybe just 2 more questions because I think we're kind of hitting our ending marks soon. Kind of going back. Do you feel like there's a huge stigma on the mom guilt? Do you have mom guilt? Do you go through that yet, or because I feel like
yes, all the time. All the time. A big aha moment for me is when, I mean, by the time I went into this field and working with children and families and home visitation, my kids were already born, and they were already probably like, my youngest was probably like 6 or 7, and I went to these trainings, and you learn all the new things and all the new research. And I remember going home from these trainings and like apologizing to my kids because I was like, I didn't do it the way the books say or the new research says. And so there was a lot of like, I'm so sorry. I didn't know I was supposed to hold you, because a good example is years ago, it was, oh, you put your baby down and let them cry it out. They'll self-soothe. Don't hold them too much because you're going to spoil them. And now the new research is the complete opposite. Hold your baby as much as you can. Give them that skin-to-skin contact, because that's just going to really build that bond.
yes,
And it's going to help them later on in life to trust that when they cry and you go and you help them, that there's someone there to help them, as opposed to crying and no one coming. Then they learn to, I don't have anybody to help me. And so there was a lot of information I got when I went through a lot of these trainings. And so there's always that guilt that I didn't do things the new way is supposed to be. But your kids grow up and you show them the love, and I always remind, there's always repair, and they're resilient. And so, there's always going to be that little bit of guilt that we could have done things different. But at the end, as long as you love your babies and you are there for them, they're going to be fine.
I agree. I think even reminding yourself that you need a break, it's okay. Because I remember I needed to be there. I didn't want to leave them. I didn't want to work. I wanted to make sure that I was there for them. But that also kind of put me in the back burner where I was overwhelmed all the time. And I didn't have someone to tell me, like, it's okay. Like, they're going to be just fine, you know? And so I remember I used to feel guilty, like, even going to the bathroom without them. Or, like, if I closed the door and they were just, like, knocking on the door, I would feel guilty. So I would open the door and I'd just be sitting there with them, you know? So I think, like you said, Vicky, you can always repair anything that you feel that you could have done better. And those, like, open, honest conversations I think they go a long way. I mean, my daughter and my son are just 8 and 10, but there's been times where I've sat down with them and I'm like, I'm so sorry. And they're like, Mom, like, you're a great mom. I was like, stop. But I do try, and I try to stay away from, like, the mom guilt, because it can get to you. Yeah.
And your kids are not going to always be perfect.
Yes.
I have said it several times. I love you, but I don't like you right now. Like, this sucks.
Give me my
space. Yes.
But I love you, but
Yes. Yes. That attitude was not nice. Yes. I agree. One of the last questions I wanted to ask: how did becoming a mom reshape your identity or yourself, or sense of, like, self as a woman? How has your daily routine changed as a pregnant mommy and as a mommy?
Well, like I said, mine was different because I didn't have that beginning of motherhood. I even, like, in my relationship, I think about my husband. We didn't really get to date as single. I always had a child with us because he had a daughter already. And so we never got a chance. I hear, adults or parents when they're older, like, oh, we had ourselves and we had our kids and now we're back to ourselves. I started off as a mom. I was young too. I was probably 23. And so as they're getting older, I'm learning a new relationship with my husband. And that's scary sometimes too, because we've always had a common thing. And so sometimes I joke, I'm like, what are we going to talk about? Like, we've always had kids. There's always been kids with us. We didn't have that pre. And so it's now, as I'm getting older, it's starting to learn about my husband again. And I'm like, wow, we've changed. But then I'm like, what are we going to talk about? But I think for me, I've always wanted to be a mom. So it was an easy transition for me. It's something I always wanted to be. So I loved it.
Yeah. That's so unique, Vicky. How fun. Like, you're starting to date again with your husband.
Kind of, yeah. Then I'm looking at him like, oh.
You're like, do I
Wait, you like pasta?
Right?
Oh, man. Years go by fast for sure. But what about you? How do you feel like you are adjusting to your growing belly?
I think I have to, and I don't know if it matters, but like, I feel like I have to consider her, and it like, I want to try to, eat healthier, even though I want all the carbs and I want all the, like, I want to try to like get a well-balanced meal for her, for myself, be active so that, when labor comes and delivery, like, I mean, I know that it's not going to be all smooth sailing for sure, but at least like I want to try to be healthy in my pregnancy for her. Even some of the things that I do, and I think it's the silliest thing. And I don't know, I do the weirdest things. Like, I remember, I think I was like 4 months pregnant, and we had a family party, and there was like music playing, and everyone's like, oh, let's go dance. And again, it's my first pregnancy,
No,
so
it's
please.
okay. No judgment.
But I'm like up there and I'm like dancing, and I'm like, is she okay? Like, am I moving too much? So then I'm like, go to my phone really quick, and I'm like sitting down, and I leave the whole group, and the group's like, well, what happened? And my husband comes by, and he's like, what are you doing?
I'm researching.
Yeah. So I Googled, like, can I dance while I'm pregnant?
I'm sorry. I got to laugh because you're not alone.
Yeah.
Okay.
My husband had a car that was really high, and I think I was pregnant with my daughter, and his car just shook a lot. And I'm like, we were probably like 15, 20 minutes away already. We were headed to LA. And I remember, like, I'm shaking a lot, and I looked at him like, shaken baby syndrome. Like, what happened?
Yeah.
And so I made him turn around, go home, and get another car that we had. And then afterwards, I was like, oh, as I researched, because this is before I got into the field. And I'm like, oh, they're in water, so they're not shaking. Like,
they don't feel that. Like, and that was until,
so
like,
I hope that makes you feel better.
Yes, it does, because I felt so silly. Like, I'm always like Googling. Like, another thing we did is we went to the movies, and I'm like sitting there, and I'm like, it's like the theaters where you can lift your legs. So like, that's when she's the most active. I'm eating candy, like, and then it's not a scary movie at all. And then like, there was like a big explosion, and I jump like dramatically, and I don't feel her move anymore. I'm like, oh my gosh, is she okay? Do you think she got scared? And I'm like telling my husband, like, wait, do you think this is safe? Like, is there going to be more? And I'm like Googling in the movie theater. Sorry, I was that girl. And then they're like, it's fine.
Yeah.
So it's like, so like, I don't know. I guess I want the best for her even before she's born. So I'm like trying to, like, the decisions I make, I try to consider her. And I don't know if it like changes it, or I don't know, but I'm just trying to do my best out here.
And I think that's what matters.
Yeah.
Google is your best friend for sure.
Yeah.
But also put your own intuition in it as well, because sometimes Google's not your best friend.
Yeah.
I was going to say, sometimes it could get you down a rabbit hole.
Yeah. And then it gets scary, huh?
Yeah, then it gets scary because you have so many voices telling you it's fine, and then no, like, this is what happened. So.
Yeah.
Just call me Karina.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what I was gonna say? I enrolled into AVPH's Welcome Baby program.
Amazing.
So I know I have my sisters, my family, but we have a nurse in the program, and there was a day that I was feeling a little unwell, and it wasn't like extreme where I felt like I need to go to the hospital, but it was something where the parent coach told me, if you have any questions, reach out to me or reach out to our nurse, and, they can answer those questions for you. And so instead of reaching out to my doctor, I don't know, I just felt comfort there. And so instead of Googling, because Google can be a little bit misleading, I found the comfort in calling her and saying, hey, this is how I'm feeling. And so she was able to reassure me and give me some of those tips. So I think that has been helpful too. So I'm like, I'm glad. Thank you, Google, but thank you, ABPH.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because when I was pregnant with my son, someone came to my hospital bed. One thing about ABPH that I love is that we have quite a few programs that help, our expecting mommies, our youth, our, all of us, really. But when I was at the hospital, someone came and was asking me if I wanted to enroll in something and all these things, and I was just like, sure, whatever. And then once I got home, like, she called me. She was like, oh, like, you enrolled into our program. Like, let me know when we can schedule our intake and da-da-da. But I didn't know what it was, because I don't remember what they told me. And I was, again, a teen, so information is kind of everywhere. And I didn't want to ask questions. So I was just like, oh, no, thank you. Come later. Now working at ABPH, I'm like, oh, it was the Welcome Baby program. And how I wished I could have just, like, asked a question like, oh, what is this? Or can you tell me more about it? Because I feel like that would have been a huge support system for myself. And when I hear our clients or anyone that is expecting going through, I'm like, oh, that's amazing. I'm so happy for you, because I know how hard the Welcome Baby team and the HFA team, support the families and the moms and everything. So it's very powerful.
Yeah.
I think it's nice to have someone. I always say when I talk to someone about our home visitation, when you get those nerves that you may think are abnormal, but they're very normal, or questions, sometimes you call the doctor and it could take 48 hours, even longer, if they call you back. Whereas you can call your parent coach and they could say that's very normal, or they could say, no, I think we need to, I think we should call. And so it's nice to be able to have someone that you can count on. And then also, sometimes when you ask family, you're going to get their, and you have older generations, or they're going to give you your advice. And so it's nice to have someone else. It's non-biased. And
an outside perspective. Yeah, for sure.
Well, guys, I think we're at the end. And finally, if your child was listening 10 years from now, what would you tell them? What is your takeaway from this journey?
Gosh, there's so many things I'd say. Sorry if I ever messed up, but I think that I would do it all over again. And it's scary, and I don't want to scare you, but what scares me most is how they're going to do without me. What's going to happen the day that I'm not here to love them, because I think in life, no one's going to, in my perspective, going to love them more than I do, unconditionally. And so the thought of leaving them here without me scares me. If that makes sense. Sorry, guys.
I'm like, no, yeah, that makes sense, 100%. Ditto on what Vicky said. And being a mom is tough, but tenfold I will do it again. And each time, try my hardest. As a teen, I made a lot of mistakes. And like you said, just going again and really changing those cycles and just doing better. So that's my that's still my thing. I'm trying my best, and I love you guys, and you guys are amazing, for sure.
It's so crazy to think, like, she's not even born in 10 years from now. Oh my gosh. So crazy. I don't know. I think I would just say that I can't wait, that There's so much. I don't know. I don't know how to just put it all into words, but I can't wait to like experience life with you. I can't wait to grow with you. And just please be patient with me.
Yes.
Please be patient with me, because I'm going to try to like always fight for you or be the best version of myself for you. And I don't know, so many things, but I think I would just say that I'm going to be here for you, and that your mommy and your daddy love you. And we can't wait. And yeah.
I know as you grow, you don't realize the amount of different types of love you can have. But when you hold your baby for the first time, I was talking to Karina about a little conversation I had with my son when it was just him and I think less than 24 hours after he was born. And I sat there and held him and apologized for him ever being hurt in the future, or me messing up, and just saying I'm going to be the best mom I can. And it's just a scary love. You don't realize it until you hold that baby for the first time.
Yeah.
That there is this love that just, it's a different love. And you didn't even know that type of love existed until you have children of your own.
I remember when I was, just a quick little side, I used to tell my grandpa, I don't want to die until I know what true love is. And when I had my son, he was like, are you ready to die? And I was like, what? And he was like, you don't know what you're expecting, but this is a true love that you will never like understand. It's unconditional and it's forever. And I was like, oh, okay. But as I'm older, I'm like, I know what you're talking about, because it's so scary, but so powerful. It's so unconditional. And
I'm just honored to be able to also experience young, and I love all three of my kids. I mean, just unconditionally. And I hope that they can be that same to their children.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys for being part of this very special
And emotional
podcast. We have years of experience, new mommies. We hope that your journey is as beautiful as, I don't even know what I want to say. But here at ABPH, we have services that can support you along your way. Thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate your guys' words
Thank you for sharing.
Of course.
I know it's, again, I mentioned information overload, but thank you. Thank you, ladies, for being so vulnerable. It's so eye-opening, and I can't wait. It makes me so excited. I'm so excited for the happiness, but the scaredness and the messing up. I'm so excited. So thank you for sharing that. I'm excited.
I'm excited for you. Well, thanks, guys, and we'll catch you in another episode.